This is me after 3 hours in the water, terribly exhausted, but also super happy for finally having accomplished a milestone that I had been waiting a lot for. Wanna know what happened? Stay tuned. As promised, last week's video wasn't going to be the only one with Dani, as it was so cool that one day we decided to meet up literally the next day, but this time in a different spot. That day we went to Cabo Silleiro, which is a well-known spot amongst the spears in this area, as although it is a very tough place, the difficulty of fishing there is rewarded with fish of greater size than its equivalents in other spots in Vigo. To put it into easier words, Silleiro is one of those places around Vigo that proves what a spear is made of, and you can only call yourself a real one once you master that place. Silleiro has many subspots that serve every type of spearing, from more covered areas with less depth to very deep bottoms, or even very aggressive areas where waves break against rocks. But for both of us, it was our first time, so we decided to go for the first area, the chillest one. The plan was clear: go for the big boy. Target species and sizes we hardly ever see in other places. But I had two particular ones in mind: sea bass and white sea bream. The thing is that those fish don't behave like wrasse and peacefully wait to get speared. Both species require a far more refined technique. Sea bass especially because of how difficult it is to find them, and white sea bream because of how easily escarable they are. The slightest move, the faintest sound is enough to scare them away, so I had to be very focused. As we were heading towards the spot we wanted, we passed by a shallow place with a rocky seabed and a few schools of white sea bream, but none of them were especially big, and as I just said, these bastards know how to keep distance very well. You're not getting any closer than this if you don't catch them lacking. I tried everything: ambushing, standing still on the surface making noises to track them, but it was absolutely impossible, so we moved on and went to the spot we wanted. Once we got there, we started looking for fish, and suddenly a school of dreamfish passed by very close, but I was completely unprepared for it. My camera was off and my spear gun unloaded, but I only had time to get one ready on time. The thing is that I couldn't load it in the second mark, and the first one isn't very powerful, but I had to act quickly, so I took my chances as it was. I did hit one of them, but the shot lacked power, so it didn't go all the way through, and it managed to break out of the shaft. But it was badly wounded, so it couldn't properly swim away. It swam away just a few meters and then laid on a rock. So I dived down with the shaft in my hand to try hand spear it, but the fish was faster and it swam into a cave. So I decided to calm down, reload my spear again, and go back down after a little bit. Here's how it went, but wait for the little surprise.
Pero no lo pude grabar, tenía la cámara apagada, me entró, hice este disparo, un disparo súper poco, tenía cargado el arpón en la muesca de atrás y solo lo pude dañar, y se metió en una gruta para esconderse, y de repente bajo a rematarlo y un pulpo robándome en la captura, hijo de la grandísima puta, porque están en veda, si no se venían los dos para casa.
I could not believe my eyes when I saw the octopus munching on my catch. Here's a quick shot of the thief with Dani in the background fighting his way to a big cuttlefish locked up in a cave. Just after that, I didn't even leave the fish in the float. I quickly reloaded the spear again, leaving the dreamfish on the line, in case Dani needed a backup shot with a cuttlefish or something. But as he told me that it was fine, I saw this good wrasse next to me, so I said, well, if I'm going to make a trip to the float, let's make it worth it, and brought the wrasse with me too. The day kept going, and at some point, this school of boat passed by, and I figured out a second new register to the Pokédex wouldn't hurt nobody, so I put all my focus on aiming at such a small target, and put a surprisingly accurate shot. For those screaming at the screen, fear not, these fish are biologically like that. They are not juveniles, they're just small fish. I obviously wouldn't catch them on purpose if they were undersized. A bit later, I was doing an ambush in between the rocks, and although I was not targeting wrasse, I really couldn't help it. This good-sized one passed by, and I pulled the trigger. But the story doesn't end there. As I realized the shot had a very good placement, and I had stoned the fish, I just went back up to the surface and started turning off the camera while the wrasse was still in the seabed to save those 5-10 minutes of battery while I dispatched it and bring it back to the float. But guess what? As I turned off the camera and started pulling the shaft, I saw another fucking octopus approaching the dead wrasse to steal it. God damn it, close season, those bastards were getting way too cocky. We're gonna have to do something about it once the season is open again. After this wrasse, I promised myself to focus on what we had came for, sea bass and white sea bream. So I started looking in every single cave possible. But as I told you, these aren't wrasse. You not only have to find the cave, but also approach it like a ninja. Because if you expose yourself too much... This time I saw a good bream getting into a cave from the surface, so I calmed down and started figuring out the strategy, trying to make absolutely no noise. Once I had a plan in mind, I dived down, but remember, I'm an absolute noob in this, so I didn't approach the cave correctly, making myself too visible, and of course the fish did singingly. I tried to pull a no-aimer, but it didn't work out and I missed my best chance ever at the white sea bream. And now comes what is by now arguably the proudest, happiest and most exciting moment as an Spearo. After missing the chance, I obviously kept looking for them under every single rock, until I eventually found one with a good bream in it. The cave had 3 exits, a big one in front, a big one in the back, and a smaller one in the middle, so the bream had plenty of available places to escape, so I had to be very careful. However, in that exact moment, my camera turned off because of the battery. But sorry not sorry, I had more important things to focus on, so I approached it from the side, and despite not having an open shot, I tried my luck with a bit messy side shot, and I obviously missed. So I went back up to the surface, desperate about blowing another good chance. But after some rest time, I went back down to check, and miraculously, the fish was still in the cave. So I said, okay, now I can't fuck up, I ain't missing this one. But the thing is that the bream was now even more aware of the danger than before, so it wasn't giving me any chances. In one of the attempts, I realized it started heading towards the back of the cave, so I followed it to the end exit, and there it was, closer than ever. But of course, as it saw me, it headed back to the bottom. However, I was not missing this one. I pulled the trigger, and there it was, my first white sea bream ever.
Por fin el puto cargo. Joder, tanto tiempo esperando y aquí está. Ah, qué puto gusto, Dios mío, no me puedo poner tranquilo, joder. Ya era hora.
And that was it for today. What a day it was. Hope you liked the video as much as I did. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel because I'll see you in the next one.